Hey team, welcome back. So in this video, I'm going to be going over an obstacle orchard workaround, right? A lot of you at this point working on orchard, you're probably super frustrated. So I figured I'd make you this video to kind of make your lives a little bit easier. So as you know, for this challenge, your tractor is going through my apple orchard. And if something is in the way of the robot, it's going to stop and wait for you to remove that obstacle or object. And then your robot is going to continue going through the orchard. Now, we know we're using a repeat until loop, and we know we're using an if, then, or else block. All right, and a lot of you, with my previous video, you were probably trying to do something very similar to this, right? Where you're going to be repeating the checking if an object is there for a certain distance, right? We're doing this by distance, and you were probably using the relative position block that I showed you over here with the more motors, which again, you click down at the two blocks with the plus sign, you make sure that more motors check is checked, and then you exit out, and now you have access to all of these motors, right? But some of you may have picked up on this, some of you may not have. There's also, besides using the relative position, just like the gyro sensor, it makes our life easier if you set your relative positioning to 0 directly before your repeat loop with the if-then block inside. Right now, the relative position is the positioning of your motor, pretty much tracking how many, pretty much your distance, right? How many degrees that motor has traveled. However, for the relative position, we're really referring to the right motor only. Whatever motor is going clockwise. So in our case, it's going to be motor D. And this is important. So you want to set your D motor to 0. And your D relative position, right? That's what you want to take a reading of. The reason why we want to use the right motor, or D in our case, is because for the relative positioning of the motor, our right motor, whatever one's going clockwise, that value gets added, right? It's a positive value. If I were to use C instead, I would have to use a negative value because the relative positioning of the left motor, or whatever motor goes counterclockwise, that value goes down. So you have to have it be D, that you're setting to 0, and that you are reading the relative positioning. Now remember, when you do this, right, you need to have every straightaway is going to have this chunk of code, right? So if I go like this, and just say we're doing an additional one, right? So this is going to be my first straightaway. And then after it goes forward for however far, right, remember, since we're measuring it in degrees, however many rotations we need, like if you measure, do the math, which is your total distance divided by your circumference to get your number of rotations, then take your rotations and multiply that by 360. Okay, super, super important. So after we went forward for however distance, whatever distance we need, right, now we can do our turns. Now, we don't have to check for an obstacle on our turns, right? I'm going to give you that, make your life a little bit easier. So stop and wait. Just say I'm moving forward for 1 rotation, and then I'm going to stop, and I'm going to wait again, and then continue and do my other turn, right? That's not exactly right, but it's pretty darn close. I now need another set of this repeat loop right here, right? So I could actually cheat really quick. Right click, duplicate, put that there. Grab this out, connect that. And now this needs to be brought in here. Now, super, super important, right? I didn't reset the relative positioning. So if I don't reset it, my value is going to be read at greater than 1800, right? 1800 degrees. So it's not going to do anything. So you need to make sure that you are setting your relative position for that motor to 0 directly before you run your repeat loop. Okay, it's super, super, super important. This should make your life significantly easier. All right, I hope it helps. Good luck.